Breaking news.
Those stories shortly, but first, new breaking news tonight. Jackson police investigating a deadly shooting that appears to be connected to a possible stolen truck. Sheriff and interim JPD Chief Tyree Jones says it happened on Lakewood Drive at the intersection of West McDowell Road. 3 on Your Side was the first on the scene. Sheriff Jones says investigators believe the 19-year-old, now deceased suspect approached someone at a home and allegedly stole a truck. Now, the sheriff says the person driving the truck was shot in the head during an exchange of gunfire and died. That truck overturned at the scene. The victim was also hit by gunfire and then taken to a hospital, but is expected to recover. Sheriff Jones describes what investigators are still trying to find out.
Now, we have not been able to determine if he took it by force at this time or if he got into the vehicle without force. But the individual was armed, and there was an exchange of gunfire.
The names of those involved have not been released.